Sal or Ken?
But just going into the season, I know, are those the four core values that you have, are they different from last year, or are they just a new, like, motto or slogan?
Same.
Same.
Same as it's been since I was the head coach at Georgia Southern. So it's what I believe in, and so always the things that we talk about with our teams.
More emphasis on them this year than
Nope.
the past?
We place a tremendous emphasis on those from the very first day and every single day. Try to coach with those things in mind and get our kids to believe that that's how we win.
What are some of the signs you see, even in the preseason, that maybe this could be a better year for you guys?
Just experience. We got some guys that have played. I guess just call them by name. The two safeties, Moss and England, Jackson at corner, Hyatt played a bunch at the end of the year at corner, Gibson, Ackerman, Brinson, Wolf, all at outside backer, King and Timpf, Washley, who's a backup at inside backer. All those guys have played. Jordan Smith, who's hurt right now, hopefully he'll get healthy, but he's played. Ruska's been in games. Voigt has played a lot of football for us, and I think he's a good player. Probably the least experienced guy is going to be the nose guard, and the guys that line up there have little to no experience. So that's the guys that at least been in games. And on offense, I think the same, and having a couple of quarterbacks that have been in games, started games, been in big football games. The offensive line has got several guys who have started games. Holland being back after taking a year off with the injury, but Boylan, who he didn't play much, but was our center all spring and is a tough kid and has really grown in the program. Gilbert, Enegren, Brett Toth, Kurz, all guys that have been in games, and then Edgar Poe. He's just I think he's a really talented kid. A guy that is as good when the ball's in the air as, gosh sakes, I mean, most of the guys I've ever been around, and there's been some really good ones. And he doesn't possess great speed, but when the ball's in the air, he really has a great knack for going to get it. All those slots are young. Joe Walker's back. He's played a lot. He's going to be a senior, and Elijah St. Hilaire, who's played sparingly in his career, has really come around as a guy we can count on. But to have Asbury, Drake, Campbell, a trainer, those guys kind of grow up and mature over a year. That's what makes me feel like we've got a chance to have more success or be a better football team. I think we'll be a better team. I don't know if we'll win more, but we'll have, I think, a better football team. I think we'll be improved.
Kind of dovetailing off that, do you think with having more experience and talent among the roster top to bottom, do you kind of have expectations or a benchmark for wins on the year, or is it just have these guys go out and compete every Saturday?
Try to go 1-0 every week. I think that's what everybody's trying to do. Don't worry about the one that's behind us or the ones that are behind us at any certain point during the season. Try to win the one that's coming up. So the one that's coming up is the most important game of the year and the only one we're worried about.
Coach, you talked about players being more experienced. The two quarterbacks both played last year, Mott early in the season, and then Chris played the last two games of the year. How do you feel they have developed their games since the end of last season?
It's unfortunate Chris hasn't been able to practice this fall. He's been nursing a little bit of a hamstring pull, which we're going to get him out of that. Those just take time. I'd love for him to be getting a little bit more of the work right now, but I thought he had a really good summer. He came back in great condition, and I'm excited to see him get out there and lead the offense, and hopefully we'll be able to do that before we play our first game. I think Ahmad's really handled the number of reps and going with the starting offense really well. He's poised and he's confident. He's matured physically. He's bigger and stronger than he's ever been. So I think both those guys are capable of leading our team, and I'd feel a lot more comfortable if we had both of them healthy right now. But I think at some point we will.
Coach, you were working on the spring, I know in the fall, on the fullback position and trying to find a big back. I know you brought a couple of guys in from the defensive side of the ball. How do you see that position right now?
Well, that position, much like the nose guard position on defense, are going to be a bunch of untested guys. Now, Andy Davison played in a lot of football games last year on special teams, blocked a punt against Tulane, a bunch of tackles on special teams, and I think he's a really good football player. Be the first time he's played in a college game as a running back, but I think he's had a good spring. I think he's had a good camp, and there's some good competition right there. Darnell Woolfolk, who did play some last year as a freshman, not a whole bunch. There were some other freshmen that were kind of in and out of there with him, has had a really good camp. And I've been particularly pleased. If there's anybody that stood out as a guy that has been a pleasant surprise, it's been Darnell, and he's really battling and running hard. And then a couple other guys, Cole Masick and Connor Slomka. Cole played on the defensive side last year and pretty much on special teams, didn't play a defensive snap all year. And then Slomka played at the prep school as a linebacker, and we moved him just because he really is kind of the same mold as Masick, just a hard-nosed, tough football player.
Coach, last year obviously turnovers were a challenge, and is just the fact that you'll have more experienced players handling the ball something that will improve ball management?
I hope it will. We coach the ball security and keeping it locked away and looking pitches and passes in, working on center quarterback exchanges more than I ever remember doing it anywhere else. And so it's disappointing that we had that many turnovers. And we've got to control those things. That's something that we have control over. If a guy makes a great play and steps in front of a pass and intercepts it, that's one thing. But to pitch the ball on the ground, or to not handle a snap, or to fumble the ball when we're trying to hand it off, and in our offense, obviously some of those decisions aren't made until the ball is snapped, not before. It's not a called handoff, and sometimes there's those exchanges that end up on the ground. But we've got to eliminate those. We can eliminate them, and we're going to have to if we hope to have any success.
Leading into the scrimmage on Saturday, what are you trying to get out of that the most, or what do you want to see the most from the team?
We do that to put our guys in a game-type situation as much as possible without the coaches being out there. All the special teams that we've worked all preseason camp, and just see who will go out and make a play, and who can line up on their own and play the right gap or block the right guy, and who will perform when it's a game-type situation. And I think we've got a pretty good idea at this point who our starters and our two deep are going to be, but there's some young guys that are battling for positions, or guys that don't have the same amount of experience, and it'll be interesting to see what they do on Saturday. It's not the end all of the starting lineup, and we've got 3 more weeks before we play, so there'll be some other decisions that are made and some personnel that'll maybe change in terms of who's the starter and who's the backup, and also on the special teams. We still got a lot of moving parts there, but I'll be excited just to see our guys go out there and compete when we're not standing out there giving them feedback every single play. And I think you find out a lot more about a guy and what he's capable of doing if you do it that way.
One of the things you talked about earlier was just the defense, having that experience and the talent. You got 9 of 11 of the starters coming back. How special can that group be, and how much of a problem can they cause for the opposing team's offenses on a weekly basis?
Well, I don't know how talented we are. I mean, there's a lot of talented football players out there, and I don't know that we're going to win on talent. We're going to win on toughness and execution and doing things exactly like they're supposed to be done. To say we're going to trot our guys out there and be faster and bigger and more athletic, and that's why we're going to win, that's not a reality here. What is reality is that we can control our effort and our attitude, and that's what we need to do, and hopefully those guys will do that very well and execute the game plan and play the fundamentals soundly, be tough, and I think that'll give us a chance to compete with the opponents we have this year.
How can the team get over the hump from last year where you had so many close games? I mean, have you taken any specific measures to
I don't know that that's a hump that we couldn't get over. Just a matter of making enough plays to win a game, and the fact of the matter is we didn't make enough plays to win the game, or we made too many mistakes to win the game. And it's the unforced errors that Ken asked about, tossing the ball on the ground or fumbling exchange, or just silly things like that we can control by being better fundamentally, that'll keep us from getting behind like we did in the Tulane game. We're down 28-7. We toss one on the ground on a pitch, and they scoop it in one hop and score a touchdown. We can't give those away. So we just got to make more plays, and that's the bottom line. Find a way to make enough stops, find a way to score enough points that we balance out and we win as a team. It doesn't have anything to do with any one particular area of our team. We didn't play good enough as a team collectively, special teams, offense, defense, to win those football games. So we got to find a way to do that.
Coach, you mentioned Chris has an injury. I saw 4 freshman quarterbacks out on the field Saturday. Is one of those players the number 3?
Likely, one of those guys will maybe even be the 2 if we can't get Chris healthy. So I hope we can, like I said. But right now, Malik McGew is kind of at the top of that group, and I think he's got a great deal of potential. He's an undersized guy, but very quick. Has really impressed us with his leadership and with his confidence, and he's doing a nice job. He's doing a nice job out there on the field, and I think each day gaining more confidence as he's making some plays. Kelvin Hopkins, who's a guy that came from our prep school along with Malik, he's done some really nice things. He's not as fast as those other guys, but has a great arm and won a ton of games in high school as a quarterback. So he's a winner. He's a competitor, and those are 2 great qualities in a quarterback. And then Joey Bennett and Corey Frosto are the 2 guys that came direct from high school, and frankly, it's tough to come in 2 weeks, find your way into the lineup, and they're probably struggling a little bit with it mentally more than they are physically. I think those guys are both capable of being a quarterback for us. So I'm excited about that group.
Coach, maybe just ask you about Ken Brinson. He became a starter last year as a freshman, and then he's doing spectacularly academically while playing football. Maybe you could just tell us about how he's able to do so well. I guess I understand he was number 1 in his class coming out of freshman first semester.
Well, he was. If he wasn't, he was close to number 1 in his class at Marist High School in Atlanta. He's an incredibly intelligent young man, and a tremendous athlete. So that's a guy that was I don't know if All-Americans and all of those awards that they give in high school in both track and wrestling, along with being a great football player. And I'm glad he decided he wanted to play football in college, and had such a strong interest in Army. And it was a battle. We certainly recruited against some other programs, and we're fortunate that he decided to come here. He's a great kid, very athletic, long, and has developed a great deal over the winter, just his body and his strength, and he's getting better. I think he's a better player now than he was when he got here, and hopefully he'll continue to improve. And he just does a great job of balancing everything here at the academy, and that's a challenge not just for our guys but for every student here. School's tough. This is a tough place, but it's that way for a reason. We want to challenge our students, and I want our players to be challenged, and I think that forges a strength of character in them, and develops the leadership qualities that we value in putting those guys out there as officers in the Army. And I'm sure he'll be a fantastic leader. But he is number 1 in his class after his freshman year. over a 4.0 GPA, which with the plus and minus system with our grades here gives the guy an opportunity to do that. So really proud of him, and he represents our program in a positive light in everything he does. So tremendous kid.
Coach, you mentioned rookies are competing against numerous veterans for different positions. What has your impression been of the rookies throughout this training camp as it's been going on?
You know, those guys have done a really good job. They've handled camp very professionally, and that's the thing I've been most impressed with. They enjoy being here, and they're really building relationships with each other and starting to get to know each other and know the veteran players. But and there's some times for that to kind of let your hair down and just enjoy being around each other. But when it comes to football, they're serious about it, and they want to compete for a position. They're not satisfied with just kind of being on the team, and that's great to see. It's great to see a team or a group of guys that's competitive like that, and so badly wants to contribute. So I'm impressed with those guys. There's going to be some of them that'll play this year for sure.